everybody, hello everybody, hello everybody, hello everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hello everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you like Therian and furry content, as well as arts and crafts, you are in the right place. Make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to my channel if you like this kind of content, and let's get on with the video. So in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to make this. It is a muzzle mask. I just have been making a bunch of them recently, and a lot of you guys like them, so I figured I'd make a tutorial for how to make your very own. Now, just a disclaimer, this tutorial is a bit advanced. It's still beginner friendly, I'd say, but you do need a lot more kind of professional quote-unquote supplies. This is made out of EVA foam. Technically, you could make it out of cardboard, but I wouldn't because you still have to use the fur and the fleece, and it really wouldn't be wearable because you couldn't clean it. But this is able to be done if you have cardboard. But it is made out of foam. It is made out of fabric and paint and moldable plastic for the teeth. But I'm going to be teaching you every step on how to make this exact mask. And if you follow along, you'll probably have a wolf mask of your own by the end of it. But anyway, let's get into the video and I will show you how to make this mask.
So first, let's go over all the supplies you need to make the mask. First of all, you need 5mm EVA foam. Now, craft foam or smaller EVA foam can work, but it's not going to be as durable and like easy to work with because this is thicker, so it'll be able to hold the snout shape even easier than thinner craft foam, but thinner craft foam can also work. Next, you need some fleece or felt. Felt works too. Fleece I prefer better because it's easier to paint and it absorbs water better so that it can kind of spread the colors around easier, and some faux fur. Now, technically, you can do the entire thing with fleece. That's what I did with this snout mask. I didn't use any faux fur at all, but this one I used some fluffy faux fur, so that's what I'll be doing for this mask in the tutorial. But on that topic, you will need some faux fur. You don't need a lot of it, but any kind of faux fur will do. I got this in a scrap box from a fursuit maker, but you can also get small sets from craft stores. You can buy by the yard. There's so many ways to get faux fur. You can even cut up a blanket or something, but faux fur is really fun for this project because it can give that extra level of detail to the side of the mask. Next, you'll need some upholstery foam. You don't need a lot because this is literally only for the lower jaw, but you technically could use just layers of EVA foam to get the same effect, but I prefer to use some just upholstery foam. Now, this is kind of the most essential piece of the project, which is the hot glue gun. It is how everything is going to stick together. So you need a hot glue gun and some hot glue. Next, you need some moldable plastic. This is what I make the nose and teeth out of in these masks, and is a really good art supply to have around. Basically, you just boil the water and put the plastic inside of it, and it melts down into a kind of moldable, shapeable form. It's kind of like clay, and then it hardens into a hard plastic. If you've never worked with moldable plastic before, I have a tutorial on my channel that I will link with the eye icon and in the description, but this is a really good material, and you need this for this project. Next, you need some elastic. I just grabbed this random black elastic from the craft store. This is probably like, I don't know how thick it is, but this is the elastic I use. You don't need much of it, just enough to wrap around your head, but this is really good. And this is stretchy so that you can actually adjust the size a little bit. Technically, you could also use some kind of string or something else, but I prefer using elastic since it is just the most convenient and it stretches. So next, you're going to need some acrylic paint. Literally any kind of acrylic paint works. You're going to want to get this really watered down too. So these are just random acrylic paints I picked up from some craft store. These are like the dollar paints that you get, like you can even get them at Walmart, but some kind of acrylic paint, and obviously some paintbrushes to use with it. Mine are really dirty because I haven't cleaned them yet, but paint and paintbrushes is good because then you can paint the fleece and make sure you get a lot of detail into the mask. So you need some paint and paintbrushes. Now, next you're going to need some scissors. Any kind of scissors will do, and an X-Acto knife if you have one. You don't technically need an X-Acto knife, and because they are a dangerous kind of tool to work with, they are optional, but scissors is definitely required, and also optional is a needle and thread. I use this to clean up the backing and to sew on the strap, just so it stays better, but you can also use glue for that. So the needle and thread is optional, but I would recommend it. And lastly, another optional step is a fabric for the backing. You technically don't have to line these masks, but if you're planning on wearing a lot, I'd recommend it. So this is just some extra fleece that I'm going to use for the backing. Okay, the first step is to cut out the base of your mask. It's essentially a rectangle of EVA foam, and this one is approximately 8 inches long and 3.5 or 4 inches high. That is the size of my face where I like the mask to sit. So to measure it for yourself, take a square of EVA foam, or at least a rectangle like this, and line up this part so it goes just beneath your eyes. It should go over your nose, and it won't really be comfortable because there's no spot for your nose to go yet, but line this up beneath your eyes. Next, make sure each of these edges fully covers your face. If it's a little too short, then cut out another piece that's a bit longer. If it's a little too long, then you can probably leave it until you want to trim it down. But that is approximately the size you want it. Now, if it's on your face and this part hangs a little bit farther beneath your chin, then cut it off so it's even with your chin, or a little bit below so that it covers it, but doesn't fully go past it. Once you have this piece cut out, we can move on to the snout shape. So you're going to cut out this shape onto your EVA foam. I believe this is about 7 inches long. Yeah, it's 7 inches long and about 3 high. That is kind of the ideal shape for a canine snout, but you can work with it and try to make it a little bit longer, a little bit shorter if that is your preference. I tend to make mine a bit longer than I need them to be, just because you fold over this tip of the snout, so it does get a little bit shorter, so you lose a little bit of length when you glue it together, but this is probably a good size for a snout. So once you have that piece cut out, flip it over, trace it, and cut out a second one. And once you have those cut out, take a little bit of glue and put it on the tip of one of the pieces, like that. Then take the other one, put it right on top, smooth it around a bit so it sticks, and then hold that glue together. It doesn't have to be angled quite like this, but that's approximately how you want to angle it. Make sure to hold this until the glue is fully dry, otherwise it'll kind of come apart because you're going to be folding these pieces backwards. So make sure the glue is fully dry before you do that. Once it's all glued together, you're going to want to take a pencil and mark right about here and right about there. So, actually I missed it. So maybe like here and here. This is going to be where you cut the snout to make it fold. So make it more of a snout shape. So you're going to cut on that line right about here and right about here. You want it to be in the same placement on both sides of the mask, just so that it folds evenly. So then you fold it over like this and glue it in place. Once both sides are folded and glued, it should look something like this. Here's the front, there's side. So now that it's glued like that, you're going to take some glue and put it on this end. I accidentally skipped that step, so I glued it first. That's why there's dry glue on here, but ignore that. So you're going to put some glue on both sides, and then line it up in the middle of your mask like this. That way it creates kind of a snout. So you're going to take both pieces and put them right up to the top of the base and glue them down. Now, technically mine is a little uneven, so I might have to trim up one of the sides, but I'm going to glue it and find out first. Once it's glued in place, it should look something like this. The next step is to cut out a rectangle that is as long as the snout and about as wide, and to fold it over the top to create the coherent snout shape. So I just cut this piece of scrap EVA foam that's approximately the right size. So once it's approximately the right size, you're going to do something like this. So I would recommend cutting kind of the two corners off of there and the two corners off of here, just to make it easier when you're gluing. But you're going to take it and put glue on either side. One here, one here. Get it closer to the edge there. There we go. Then take it and set it on top of the thing and squeeze it. Squeeze it down like this. Make sure it goes all the way up and hold it in place as it squeezes the snout. Once that piece is glued on, you can trim off any extra at the front like I did, and you have the first part of your snout. Once that's done, we're going to make the lower jaw. So take a piece of EVA foam that's approximately this size and line it up underneath the snout. So this is going to be to figure out the approximate length we want the lower jaw to be, and I think I want it to be about here. So I'll mark that with my nail just so I don't have to worry about getting a pencil. And that's about how long we want to make it. Cool. So now we got to figure out the width of it. So I'm actually going to trim this down probably like 3/4 of an inch, and then kind of curve this out, make it a rounded shape, like that. Should be good, and then we'll line it up with the bottom of the mask. Okay, that is approximately the size that I am looking for. We're gonna cut it this way. Yeah, inward. And then it'll go good, like that. Once I have it cut out, I'm going to glue it right to the bottom of the base and leave a little bit of space between the top jaw and the bottom jaw just because I want the mouth to be open slightly, and glue that right there. Once the lower jaw is on, we're going to make it a little bit thicker by using some upholstery foam. I'm going to grab my upholstery foam from over here. There we go. And I'm going to just size approximately how big the snout is so I can cut a square like that. And then I line it up with the bottom of the jaw and just glue it to it. So the easiest way I found to do this is just put your hand inside the mouth and just squish it to the foam. Once it's glued to the mask, it should look something like this, and then you can take your scissors and just cut out this extra piece like so. Let's go around, hold on. Cut out all the extra foam just to make it line up right. There, some rough cuts, and we've got a little bit of foam for the lower jaw. So now that we've got the rough shape, go back in with your scissors and just start trimming it and curving it so that it's rounded. This can take some work, but just keep trimming it away very gently and slowly until it is the shape you want it to be. So I'm just going to trim a little bit more. Let's use these just the tips of your scissors to do this. Just trim it and get all those sharp angles off of it. There we go. And then we got a pretty curved out lower jaw. Now that your mask is attached to the base, you're going to want to cut open a hole so that you can actually wear the mask. I drew this kind of oval where I know that the mask isn't, so that there's this open area here. So I'm going to actually take my X-Acto knife. You can do this with scissors, which is a lot harder, and I'm going to cut out this circle. And once that's cut out, you got a nice place to breathe, but your nose still probably won't fit. So I tend to remove this entire section up here. So let's take my scissors and just kind of trim that away. There we go. Now you got a nice open hole. Now that the mask is more or less wearable, we're going to cut off these corners at an angle so that it's more rounded. There we go. Now the corners are rounded, so it should fit the mask better. Now, I did have to remove this side of the mask so I can make it shorter because it wasn't really even. So I did trim a little bit away so that it looks a bit better, and you can always do that by just peeling up the side and then trimming it down. But now the mask is ready to go. This next step is technically optional, but it does make the mask look a little bit nicer, and that is to take a really sharp X-Acto knife, do not use a dull one at all, and to trim away just the edges here so that you can kind of make it smoother. Now, I'm pretty sure this knife is dull. Yeah, you want a sharp one so that it goes. Let me just change this blade. Here we go. Now, the important thing with this is that you never cut towards yourself in any way. So if your finger is in the way of the blade, do not put it there. But as you can see, it just peels up the corner, and you can kind of make a smoother finish for the mask by just peeling up the side, making it a lot smoother. Because the next step is to cover it in the fleece or felt, and in order for the fleece or felt to fit better, having a smoother base is always a good thing. Now, this next part can be really difficult because it is about putting the fleece onto the mask. So I have a couple pieces of fleece. I don't have one big sheet, and it's actually easier to work with if you have smaller amounts. But you're going to first take your fleece and cover the top of the snout. You are going to do the top snout and lower jaw differently. Different pieces of felt works best. So line it up on top like this so that no matter how much it folds, it covers the entire part of the snout. Perfect. So once it's lined up in a way that covers the entire snout, keep it in its exact same position and apply some glue to the top of the snout. Like this. Then take your fabric and gently fold it over the top. Like that. Now, you can adjust it as you go and make sure you stretch it as you glue it. That'll help the fabric fit the snout better. Just smooth it out away from the center, like so. Next, you're going to glue the side of the snout and do the exact same thing. Avoid the front part here, we're going to do that last. So first we apply the glue, just over the edge of the snout here, and make sure you get it right along the edge so that it stays even. Get this chunk of foam out of there. Then again, you fold the piece back, glue it, and stretch it as you glue it, like so. And go from where it was previously glued down to where it was just glued, and just smooth out the fabric. Wrap it around, smooth it out. We're going to glue this side now. Again, avoiding the very tip of the snout. Make sure you get up the edge here, like that. Okay. And again, fold it back. And put all the creases of the fabric towards the very tip of the snout. Once the snout is fully glued on like this, you'll have a lot of extra overhang in the front. This is where it gets a little tricky because we're going to have to make the front of the snout even. So first, once the sides are glued, you can trim off the extra fabric along the edges here. You're going to want to leave a little bit just to wrap around, but like maybe an inch or so away from where you just glued. And cut all that extra fabric away. All the way up. And then once it gets to here, just cut straight because you need the extra fabric in front of the snout. So now it looks something like this, easier to work with. So this is the trickiest part of making this mask. Well, it's one of them, but you're going to want to fold these in so that you know exactly where they crease. And it doesn't matter how the fur and the fleece folds at the tip of the nose, because that's where we're going to put the multiple plastic nose anyway. So that's where we're going to put the very final fold that we can't hide. So first we're going to like line it up so we know exactly where these two sides of fabric meet. Then you're going to take one side of the fabric and cut it a little bit away from where it'll meet, like that. And then you know where to lay it down. And after you cut that section, make sure you fold the other one so it lines up, and cut it so that after, the seam will close, or at least be close to it. There. Now there's going to be one small seam, but it won't be too bad. So, next step is to glue down the fabric so that it can make that crease. Put some glue on the tip of the nose, and start with both thumbs like this, smoothing it down to create no wrinkles. This can be a little difficult, but and line that up so that the crease at the front is as invisible as we can make it. Like that. So we're going to take this and trim all the way to the top, continuing from the seam, and then do the same thing on this side. Now we can probably, press that closed with some glue, and we got ourselves a snout. Okay. Put a little bit of glue underneath. There we go. And then just press these two sides together. Like that. Just smooth it out. Like that. There we go. And there is the completed front of the snout. Now you may be wondering what to do with this extra fabric. And to that I say you just fold it over into the inside of the mouth and glue it carefully as you go. That way it stays flat. Okay, now that the other side is glued, I have this completed fleeced upper part of the snout. So now we're going to do the exact same thing with the bottom part. Take some fleece and line it up so that it folds all the way around like this. Just make sure it can. Perfect. And then just apply glue to the back here and fold it up like so. So we'll just get some glue onto the snout. There we go. And make sure you put a line right around the edge, just so it knows where to go. And actually I ran out of glue, so I had to get another glue stick. Just fold it up and make sure to push from where you glued to the next part, and keep stretching it as it goes so that it's smooth all the way around the bottom. There can be wrinkles. Just make sure the wrinkles go in a spot where you can cut them off. So just keep stretching it and folding it until the fleece lines up the exact way you want it to. Now peel all of the extra fabric out of the mouth where you just folded it in, and glue the places that you missed, if you missed any. I like going around the edge just one time to kind of wrap the fabric inside the mouth nice and evenly, right around the edge and up in there. Okay. And once that's glued, take it, fold it up over that edge one last time, and then stuff it tightly into the mouth here. This should create a nice edge to the lower jaw. Once it's all glued down, you can peel back your fabric and start cutting it away. Now I actually have to glue a little bit down here, but I'm going to start cutting my fabric away. Once it's all trimmed, it should look something like this. I didn't do a perfect job trimming it. You don't really have to either. I'm going to put something in the mouth to line it, but yes, there it is. Now for the inside of the mouth, this is completely optional. You can either use just the regular fabric that you made the snout with and then paint it, or you can use kind of a reddish fabric to do the inside of the mouth. You only have to do the lower jaw because you're not going to see the inside of the top part. But if you wanted to make a more realistic mouth and not have to paint it, you can actually line the inside with some kind of reddish fleece. This is felt, but some kind of fabric to line the inside. So I'm just going to do that quick by gluing it and then cutting it the exact same way we did earlier, and that will be the inside of the mouth. There we go. And with the fabric inside, it looks like this. Alternatively, you can just paint the inside of the mouth, but I decided to put fabric on it. So now I should go over the fact that this is going to be different color fleece than my faux fur, because I'm planning on just painting the fleece. I'd recommend, if you did have fleece, to get the color that you're after for the mask in the end, instead of just wanting to paint it, because it takes a lot longer and it could have worse results if you don't know what you're doing. But I'd recommend getting a light colored fleece just so that more paint colors show up. But if you have a darker mask, like with this gray, then I'd recommend also kind of getting gray fleece. But I don't have gray fleece, so I'm going with the kind of cream color here. So now for the faux fur, you want to line it up so that the fur is facing outward. So it's going in this direction away from the snout. So there's one side. And I'm going to line it up so that's like this. Cool. So once you have a size of fabric that's a little bit bigger than the actual base, just so that you can have some fabric hanging over if you want, like extra room covering your face, depending on how the mask looks. But I usually cut about that much so that I have room to work with, and then I trace it onto the other fabric so I have the same size piece, but it looks like this is approximately the same size anyway, so I'm just going to trim this off down here, call it a day. So once it's on both sides of the mask, you're going to want to line it up so that the fabric covers every inch of this, as well as lines up with the face. So I'm not even going to cut this until after I glue it, because it just makes more sense to trim it afterwards. So I'm going to apply some glue to the mask, like so. Get every inch, make sure that glues down. Okay, and then when it comes to this corner here, I'm going to put a strip of glue, and then I'll take my fabric piece and make sure the fur is pointing away from the mask, and just stick it right to it like this. Stick the fur down, and then you do the same thing on the other side. Now it's easier to trim off the extra fur in the back where you can see where each side is uneven. So you're going to want to take your scissors and cut so that it only overlaps a little bit, but the same amount on both sides. So I'm leaving about an inch of room between the base and the actual edge of the fur, and I'm trimming just following the guideline of the actual base of the mask. And then at the top, I'm going to leave a little less room just because it doesn't have to overlap that much, but trim that down. Now, that makes it look a lot better on this side of the face, but obviously this side's so fluffy, so we'll try our best to make this side match this side by using the side we just cut as a reference and trimming along, making it even. Now the next step is to paint the mask, and this is kind of a really difficult part, especially if you're going from such a drastic color change like I am. So I'm going to do my best to try to explain how I do this, but it might be a little bit complicated. Now it's important to really water down your paints, like really water them down. Like you want almost watercolor, but I've added a lot of water to this gray acrylic paint, and I'm adding more water as I go just because I want it to be really, really wet. That helps it absorb into the fabric and allows the colors to blend a bit better. So now that the fabric is wet, now that the paint is wet, I'm going to start brushing it onto the fabric. Now, it's better to go in the direction that the fur goes. And I'm using a big brush just to get more coverage because I have to color this entire thing gray. Going in both directions is also helpful just to kind of fill in the color. But when you're doing the top coat, you want to make sure to brush it back the right direction. So I will circle back once this is painted gray. Okay, so now I've got a smooth coat of gray onto this wolf mask. So this is where it's really important to get out a reference of the animal you're making, just so that you can have like every detail that you need for the mask. See, because wolves have kind of a design, not design, but like kind of way their fur works on their snout that I can't actually replicate without a reference. So what I'm going to do is pull up a reference of a wolf and then kind of paint along with it. Okay, so I painted the snout gray, and then I slowly added white to the front and to the side to make it more realistic, as well as a little bit of brown to give a bit of detail to the snout, and then I painted the nose black. So this snout actually kind of looks more like the fur now that it matches. So I haven't touched the lower jaw. I'm essentially probably going to just paint a little bit of gray and add a little bit of white so that it blends a bit more with the face. But that is the paint job of the mask. So what I like to do after I finish the initial paint job, well, first I'll do the lower jaw, but then I'm going to paint with black all around the inside of the mouth so that it kind of gives a mouth shape and makes it a little bit cleaner. Okay, I got the lower jaw painted, and I also wanted to make sure that when I bend the mask back, that area in between the fur and the snout is not just showing through. So I painted that part darker to match the snout as well. So now the next step is painting that dark line around the inside of the snout, around the inside of the mouth, so that it looks a bit more even. Okay, now that the inside of the snout is painted black, it is time to make the moldable plastic nose and teeth. Okay, I've just heated up a bunch of moldable plastic because I'm going to use half of this to make the nose and half to make the teeth. So I'm going to split it right about here and get this amount for the nose. So what I do for the nose, I painted it on like a guide just so that I know exactly where it goes. But I start by placing the plastic along the top here in a straight line. And just kind of filling it in like this. Then I carve it down into a triangle shape like this. Just kind of sculpt into the mask. Now the problem with moldable plastic is you have to kind of keep editing it as it goes. So I poke 2 holes. Oh, then that go evenly like that. Pull these up like this. There we go. And got ourselves a basic kind of nose shape. Now, is this nose shape gonna stay? I don't really know, but we will see. Because sometimes I get a little distracted sculpting other things, and the nose kind of drips in on itself because it is still like essentially a liquid. So give it a look from every angle, make sure it's the right shape, and then keep an eye on it. You don't have to be completely focused on it, you can leave it for a little bit at a time, but still keep an eye on it so that the shape does not bend. Next, you're going to take the rest of this moldable plastic, and we're going to take a piece about this big. I'm going to roll it into a kind of rectangle shape, pushing down each of the sides, just to get a nice rectangle like this. Curve it slightly downwards, so it goes like this. Actually, you don't have to do that yet, but lay it down. Take a needle or something thin and poke 3 lines like that. This is going to create the teeth. That line there. Then you lift it up and do the same thing on the top, like this. Get that nice kind of line going. Then pick up the teeth and bend them backwards like this. So they make kind of a U shape. You can size the teeth up to the mouth to make sure they're approximately the right size. You want to leave a little bit of room because you're going to need 2 sharp canine teeth, but this is approximately the size I want for my mask. Next, I'm going to take a little bit of the plastic and pull it apart in half so you have 2 evenly sized kind of shapes. Then you're going to shape these into triangles by pinching the top and pushing the bottom. That'll slowly turn into a nice sharp kind of point like this. Then you line it up with the other teeth and make sure it kind of fits like that. And you do the same thing to the other one. Make that point. There we go. And put it next to the other teeth. And then that will fit really nicely inside of the mouth. Now we go back and revisit the nose. Just keep making sure that that stays the shape I want it to be. Now that the teeth are mostly hardened, I'm going to take some glue and put it onto the bottom of the teeth, which is already solidified, so it should be fine. There we go. Then I'll pick them up and open this jaw up and glue them right inside here, like that. I also added these fangs to the top. I don't know if I left in the part where I made them, but I took moldable plastic and I stuck them there. But while I'm waiting for the teeth and nose to fully dry, I'm going to take some black paint and start adding the detail to the mouth. Personally, I like when the mouths of my masks stick out a bit, so it looks like it's smiling. So what I'm going to do is actually set my brush down for a second and trim a little bit of the hair at the corner of the mouth. I can go ahead and paint on the little mouth. So I'm going to paint all of this fur that I just cut with a black smile. Go up from the corner of the mouth like that. There. So it looks like he's smiling. I just realized I forgot to make the other teeth for his mouth, so I just got some more moldable plastic out, and this one's actually getting dyed slightly darker because of the paint on my fingers, but I'm going to take a bit of moldable plastic and shape it into the other teeth. So I make kind of a rectangle shape and then pull up 2 points like this. Just kind of press in the middle until we got 2 spikes like that. Then just push on them and shape them until they kind of turn into triangles like that. Press it against the table. We got ourselves a canine tooth. Actually, not a canine tooth, a molar. I don't know. I was looking at the canine teeth in the mouth. Now, the teeth aren't done drying yet, but another thing that I want to point out is the next step is doing the backing. So what I've already done here is cut out eye sections for where it fits on my face. Now, this mask, if you haven't tried it on your face yet, is a good idea to do that now and see how it fits. Your nose should go underneath here, and this should sit right above the bridge of your nose with your eyes on either side of the snout. That's with the flat part of it, the fur gets kind of in your eyes. So if you cut a little bit down and then trim the fur also down and kind of go with the curvature of the snout. Then you get a little bit more room for your eyes and looks a lot better on your face. Okay, so I just went ahead and glued the other teeth back into the mouth, and now we've got all the teeth installed. And at this point, the nose is not painted, but that is going to be the last step because we are going to do the backing. And if the nose is painted, then we'd have to wait for that to dry, and it's just easier to do that at the end. So, on to the backing. We are going to cut a rectangle of fabric that is bigger than all of this. That fits over all of it, including the fur. Okay, once you have the fabric that you're going to use for the back of the mask, make sure it covers everything. Then you're going to start gluing one side at a time. Start with the biggest area like this, and then go around the edges like this. You're going to want this to go onto the backing of the fur all the way to the edge. Alternatively, you could sew it, but that takes a lot longer, so we're just going to glue it. But just one half. Then take the fabric, stick it right over. Make sure it gets glued down. So sorry about the cut on my hand. All right, there we go. Stick it right to everything. Perfect. I actually got paint on my hand because it's still wet in the front. All right, now fold the fabric backwards and start gluing the rest of it. Once the glue is dry, take your scissors and start going from one end of the mask to the other, trimming along the very edge where the fabric sticks off. So it's stuck to the backing here, as you can see. I'm just going to trim right along the edge. So we'll have this nice, clean finish. Once you've trimmed around all the edges, it should look something like this, with the whole thing fully lined and nothing here. So now you take your scissors and poke a hole right in the middle and cut directly up to the top and directly down to the bottom. Then you're going to cut a little bit to the right, left I guess, and the right. This should open up and allow you to fold all the fabric over to line the inside. So to do that, you're going to take each of these triangles, take a little bit of glue, and then fold it back into the mask until it sticks. There. Now that it's lined, the last step is to, well, second to last step, besides painting the nose, is to add elastic. So what you're going to do is sew or glue elastic onto one side. You don't even have to cut it. Just take your elastic and sew it and glue it, sew it or glue it right about here. Once the elastic is attached on one side, try on the mask, size it to your face, and pull the elastic around your head until it fits comfortably. Cut the elastic where it fits comfortably, and then sew it to the other side or glue it depending on what you did originally. Okay, so I got my elastic on, and it ended up being a pretty tight elastic, but the last step I want to do to make my mask look, I guess, how I want, is to fold this part back. This will allow the kind of dimension of the mask to take a different shape, which will look a lot better in my opinion than the current shape. Alternatively, you could just cut this edge, but maybe I will. Hold on. There we go. So what I did is I just cut off those corners. It's not as evenly placed now, but I kind of like how it looks a lot better. The very last step of making this mask is painting the nose. I'm just going to paint it black and call it a day. So I'm going to do that. Now that its nose is painted black, it is time for the big reveal. And here is a completed wolf mask. I think it looks really, really cool. I'd probably make the mouth open a bit wider next time, just to be like a static position that's open. I still might edit this one so that the mouth stays a bit more open. I just like the look of the teeth. But it fits comfortably, it's breathable, it's pretty fun. I like this mask. This wolf mask was so fun to make, and hopefully you guys were able to make one of your own at home. I hope this tutorial was easy to follow, and hopefully you have yourself a nice, awesome wolf mask to wear now. My next snout tutorial will be how to make a feline style snout, just for, other options. And that video will be up sometime soon. I can't guarantee when, but I will get it to you as soon as I can.
Thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial, and hopefully you were able to make an awesome wolf mask yourself. If not, thank you for sticking around and watching. And if you like this tutorial or like this kind of content, make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to my channel. I release videos pretty much every single day, and I will be releasing a bunch more awesome tutorials very, very soon, as well as some cool commentary videos about the Therian and furry community. Sorry, I hit this cardboard. If you like this kind of content, make sure to subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching and for following this tutorial, and I will see you next time.